Shalom. Welcome to the Jewish Awareness Ministries School of Biblical and Jewish Studies. This class, we're going to look at a very interesting topic. That is Hanukkah and Christmas, but shining light on December 25th. Is it the birth date of Jesus? Now, we need to understand initially Hanukkah as we consider this in this class. The Feast of Dedication is what is referred to in the New Testament. We'll look at that later. But let's understand the background, the history of Hanukkah, some of the practices today as well. The Greek general Alexander the Great captured the known world in the late part of the 4th century BC. You can see here on this map, the green is his empire. You have Macedonia, which is in purple, just a very small area. And then you have the blue, which is just water bodies. So he controlled much of the known world. He was a world ruler, empire. He would unite his kingdom with the Greek culture and language, the Hellenization of the world, it became known as, which would have a big impact on Israel and the Jewish people. Now, his reign was short-lived. Alexander died at the young age of 33, and his kingdom was then divided among his 4 leading generals in 313 BC. 2 of the resulting dynasties were known as the Ptolemaic dynasty, which was headquartered in Alexandria, Egypt, and the Seleucid dynasty, headquartered in Antioch, Syria. Israel was located between these rival kingdoms. You can see on the map here, the purple would be the Ptolemaic dynasty and that empire, and the orange would be the Seleucid Empire, and right in between that would be Israel. The most difficult time for Israel this period came during the reign of Antiochus IV. He was also known as Antiochus Epiphanes. Epiphanes means God manifest. On the verge of conquering Egypt, Antiochus was ordered by the Roman Empire to back off or face her wrath, the wrath of Rome. Reluctantly, Antiochus retreated. But on his way through Israel, as they were the bridge, as it were, between the Ptolemaic and the Seleucid dynasty or empires, on his way through Israel, he vented his frustrations and anger on the Jewish people of Israel, of the land. Hoping to rid himself of his troubles with Israel, Antiochus decreed that the Jews would have to change their religious practices. They would no longer be allowed to keep those religious practices and distinctions. All would have to worship Zeus, the chief god of the Greeks. On the 25th day of the month Kislev, the Jewish calendar, in 168 BC, Antiochus took over the Jewish temple in Jerusalem. He set up a statue of Zeus in the temple, sacrificed a pig on the bronze altar to Zeus. Many of the Jewish people at this time had become Hellenized in their thinking and practices because Greek rule had been roughly 150 years long at this point. Although stunned by the actions of Antiochus, they went along with his decrees, believing this to be the best course of action. These Hellenized Jews would later be despised by those who stayed true to Jehovah. A small remnant of Jewish people refused to bend their wills to the dictates of this despotic ruler. He tortured thousands, killed many, many because of their faith in Jehovah. Shortly after Antiochus issued his decrees and defiled the temple, a contingent of his army came to the small town of Modin, about 18 miles to the northwest of Jerusalem. Now on your map, you can see Jerusalem, and then just to the west, almost due west, you have the city of, or the town really, of Modin, that Antiochus sent his soldiers. An elderly priest by the name of Mattathias and his 5 sons, Jochanan, Simeon, Judah, called Maccabeus, Eleazar, and Jonathan lived in this town of Modin. The captain of the troops ordered an altar built, and the citizens of Modin to offer a pig as a sacrifice to Zeus. One apostate Jew was willing, very willing, to make the sacrifice. But Mattathias and his sons were enraged at this unholy provocation, so they slew the apostate as well as the soldiers of Antiochus. They then fled to the hills, where they were joined by many, and began a time of guerrilla warfare against the evil forces of Syria and their king, Antiochus Epiphanes. Shortly after fleeing to the hills, Mattathias died. He left his forces in the hands of his son, Judah Maccabeus. It was a wise choice. After months of battle, Judah led his forces into Jerusalem, recaptured the city and the holy temple. They cleansed the defiled temple, rededicated it back to Jehovah, and Judah declared that an 8-day holiday should be instituted, memorializing the restoration of the temple. This was done on the 25th of Kislev, 165 BC, exactly 3 years after the desecration. This holiday became known as the Feast of Dedication, or Hanukkah. One explanation for the length of the holiday is based on a legend, which is probably not historically accurate. Nevertheless, according to this legend, only 1 cruse of consecrated oil, a day's worth, was found for the lighting of the menorah. And to consecrate oil for this menorah, it would take 7 days before it was sanctified. Miraculously, this 1 cruse of oil burned for 8 days, providing for time to consecrate more oil. And so today, Jewish people celebrate this holiday for 8 days around the lighting of candles in their menorah on each night. Beginning on the 25th day of Kislev, around November or December, Hanukkah is observed for 8 days. The holiday begins with the lighting of candles. The Hanukkah menorah has 9 candlesticks. 1 candle is added each evening, 1 on the first day, 2 on the second, etc., in memory of the 8 days that the oil purportedly lasted in the time of the Maccabees. The 9th candle, called the shamas, or servant candle, is used to light the other 8. The middle candle here on this menorah, Hanukkah, is the shamas candle. Usually the shamas candle is elevated or separated from the other candles of the menorah. The menorah is usually placed near a front window so that its lighting may serve as a testimony to the miracle that occurred long ago. Songs are sung, special foods are eaten, latkes, which are potato pancakes in the U.S., sufganiyot, jelly donuts in Israel. and gifts are given to the children each night. A traditional game using a dreidel, a four-sided top, is often played. The next lesson, we're going to look at some of the common themes of Hanukkah and Christmas, and the Old and the New Testament, and what we can be learned from these about Hanukkah, as we ultimately try to determine why December 25th. Is December 25th the birth date of Jesus? And if not, why is December 25th celebrated around the world as the birth date of Jesus? Our next lesson will continue our journey. Shalom.